Welcome back to Redmond Reviews. I'm Chris Garlock, managing editor of the AGA E-Journal, and in studio, yes. Live, Mr. Michael Redmond.
And this is actually the master game.
And this is the master game.
Yeah.
It's all
so it's,
coming together.
Yeah. So another of the master games today.
Another of the master games.
Ke Jie. I can't really pronounce his name. It's
Ke Jie.
Chinese don't like it when I mispronounce it, but the Japanese have a completely different pronunciation of his name, which is Kaketsu. It's really easy for me. But they have the same written language, but completely different pronunciations because they adapted it to the Japanese spoken language thousands of years ago.
But however you say it, this is the player that Master or AlphaGo will be playing when we go to China at the end of May. So we are very, very excited to be here together. Michael's here in D.C. for the grand opening of the brand new National Go Center. We're very excited. And we're also pleased we get a chance to, usually it's morning in Japan when we do these, which of course you would not be drinking
I want to admit to drinking.
And I'm trying to keep as sharp as I can and try and keep up with you, so I actually don't drink.
So usually we're sober.
We're sober, yes. So hopefully this will improve the commentary. In any
case, well, I don't know.
We're calling this the White Burgundy series, so those of you out here who partake, we won't recommend any particular thing, but we do like the White Burgundy tonight. So cheers, Michael.
Thank you.
All right.
It's a wonderful wine.
This is getting even better as we move along in it. So tell us a little bit about this game that you're going to talk about.
Well, Ke Jie, as I mispronounce his name again, of course, is naturally, everyone knows he's the number one in the ranking. So he's probably the top player in the world right now. Still very young. I think he's almost 20. Wow, about 20. Yeah.
Wow.
And he's going to challenge Master in a 3-game match. Google is still calling it AlphaGo.
They are. They are.
So it's, maybe I should be calling it AlphaGo. But after it won all those 60 games, a lot of people started calling it Master because it was just so different from the AlphaGo that played Lee Sedol. The AlphaGo that played Lee Sedol was strong, but Master is definitely stronger in a different game altogether.
And I will tell you that I talked to some of the DeepMind folks at the premiere of the film AlphaGo, so maybe we will have to call it AlphaGo because that's what it's called. And of course they were being, very circumspect, but I pushed them hard. And they did say that the AI that we're going to see in China is not the AI that we saw in January, these games that we've been looking at. And they said they have some new things that they're going to unveil. So they wouldn't say more than that. But
well, the Google team is pretty spectacular in that there were some bugs in the program when it beat Lee Sedol, even though it beat one of the top players in the world.
4-1, not bad. Right?
Like in the game 4, it did have, it did go sort of nuts, and it showed some symptoms of what I thought was the Monte Carlo disease, you might call it. It's something that a lot of programs using Monte Carlo fall into. And so there was definitely something wrong there, although they didn't seem to agree with me completely about what was wrong. But they fixed that, and they fixed the program so that it could adjust Komi so they could switch from Chinese to Japanese rules. So there were all these various improvements that Google made, which the other groups programming AIs to play Go hadn't really accomplished yet. So there's a lot of things that really surprising developments there. So maybe the reason they're way ahead of the rest of the world in this area.
But way ahead. I mean, really, really impressive stuff. One of the great things about the film, and hopefully it'll be opening across the country in the not too distant future, and I would strongly urge everybody to see it. It's a terrific film. But it really takes us behind the scenes, and you get to really know the team. And we got to know them somewhat. You know, we have breakfast with them in the morning.
You know, I haven't seen that film yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think I get a chance here
we get a little bit of a sneak preview tomorrow night
yes.
here in D.C.
Very good.
And then again, it'll be hopefully opening across the country. And I think people are just going to be really blown away by the people.
Yeah.
The people behind DeepMind, really wonderful people, brilliant, driven. You'll be excited because you get to go into that room that we tried so hard last year to get into that room to see the percentages. We get to see a little bit of that in the movie.
Okay. Yes.
But it's a really wonderful look at the people behind the machine.
Okay, let's get into the game.
Let's get into the game.
Yeah, when we have the wine, you get more chance to talk, I think.
I'm just trying to give you a chance to work on that. All right, to the game.
Yeah. In this game, what's interesting is that Ke Jie is actually imitating something that Master did earlier in the 60-game series, if we call it 60-game series. And it's a game actually that I made a video about, a Google video about. It was Master 21, the 21st game of the series against Park Junhwan. And Master played this Chinese opening. And this opening has become so popular. Right. But Master played a way like this. Now this is probably pretty unusual. And it was originally played by Master. Maybe the first time it was at least unusual. Played in the 21st game of the 60 games, played by Master over the New Year's. So this was still last year. It was the 21st game. It would be the third day of the series, so it was probably the 31st of December. I'm just sort of slightly guessing here, but I'm probably right.
I think you're pretty close, actually.
And in that game, one other special thing about this game is that I haven't actually made the SGF file yet, so I haven't annotated it.
Sneak preview.
So I'm just sort of doing this as I go. So it'll be a bit more rough, but still, it's going to be interesting. So I'll be putting the variations in, actually, as I do this. In that game, actually, Park played here. Just to make sure everyone notices that knows what I'm talking about. In this particular game that I'm going to comment today, Master is white and Ke Jie is black. But in the other game that I'm referring to, Master 21, Master was black, and Park Junhwan was white, and they had a variation. No, actually, I think white. No, let's see. Oh yes, white played here, and then here, and then jumped in here. Right. And so we had this kind of thing.
I remember this is very exciting.
You might remember it, Chris. You were there when I made the video.
And this is just tremendously. I have tried this, and it just.
Well, at this point, it's looking sort of good for black, but of course, actually, I think black played a peep once here. And it's looking sort of good for black, but you really need a lot of fighting ability to make this work. And this is a game where Master showed very strong fighting. Like it was something like this, and you'll have to forgive. Oh no, it wasn't like that. White played here.
This is just, folks. This is
I'm trying to remember.
It's just.
I'm trying to remember game 21. It developed into this huge fight on the left side, and if Master had wanted to, it could have killed the whole left side of White's stones, but it didn't choose. It found probably a safer way to win.
Right.
But that game, we did make a video about that.
We did. So you can check it out.
And so Ke Jie, or is it Ke Jie? Ke Jie. Well,
Justin says it's could. Justin, tell us the correct pronunciation.
You might say that.
Ke Jie.
Ke Jie.
Ke Jie.
Come on, let's practice that. We're gonna need to know this.
Ke
Ke Jie. All right.
I think I'm closer. Yeah.
Okay, you're closer. Of course, you're the professional. Come on.
I'm closer than I was before. But yeah, it's a difficult name for a Westerner to pronounce, I think. And so at this point, where Park played here, Master did not play that. And another interesting point that I want to point out in this game is that playing here was probably premature by White. And that's one of the reasons that Park got into so much trouble in that game. In this game, Ke Jie is going to get into trouble because he overestimates the size of the upper right corner.
Really?
And so in both cases, the human overestimated the size of the upper right corner, in my judgment. And we'll see that happening in a couple of dozen moves from now.
Okay.
It takes some time.
Okay.
For the time being, the upper left is the center of the fight. And as we have seen before, I forget the game numbers, but we have seen Master going into the Chinese opening on the third line like this. And so this is not the first time. And the combination with that move, with this move,
yes,
again, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
The difference is that in that variation, Master was playing moves like this to attempt to make a trade there.
Right.
In this case, since the upper right corner is not, the shape on the upper right corner is not decided yet, it's a bit different, and I have the feeling that maybe it's not very good to consolidate black like this when the upper right corner is not settled.
Okay.
I'm not really confident enough to give you a diagram for that.
Okay.
But I have the feeling that the reason that white didn't play this way was because the upper right corner is not settled, and it has a bad feeling for me. But we'd have to ask Master,
Maybe we get a chance.
Another thing that we have to think about is these computer programs have their optimal moves. They have percentages for each move. They cannot yet explain to a human player, like for an amateur, for instance. They cannot yet explain why. And so the next step, if we're going to continue developing Go-playing AIs, the next step would be to have an AI that can talk to us about why it chose that move. And so there's going to have to be some translation there.
Well, I'm thinking that it's not just for Go. I mean, one of the things, and I talked to some of the guys, up at the premiere last week, that this is already being used in other applications. They talked about it in the panel after the film. They're using it for how to make healthcare more efficient, and so I would think that this question of, yes, you can give a percentage, but you have to also explain. Percentage is not, I think, going to be really good enough.
Well, my big idea at this point is that I'm going to do the translation, just looking at the percentage, and probably going to do that. And so that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. And
I think that actually enabling the AI to do that kind of thing is probably elementary compared to what they've done already. They're already translating languages by. I'm told that they have a neutral language in between, that the AI will translate the first language to something in between, which it understands, which is in between the two languages.
Sort of like an Esperanto. Yeah. Wow.
And so I'm sure that they could probably find some way to do something like that with Go, but it would be probably a completely different algorithm that would be standing between the original solution for the Go game and the commentary for a human being.
Wow.
So I'm sort of interested to see that happen. It would be a great teaching tool for amateur players.
But if it could explain its moves, then maybe they wouldn't need us.
I'd go out of business. But in the meantime, I'd be helping it get this system working.
All right, so it'll work.
And then I'd just retire. Yeah. And so, back to the game.
Yes.
Black is playing the strongest fighting move. Obviously, if white didn't play this one, if white covers here, black is going to cut. We can see that one of these groups is going to die. So that's the idea behind black's playing. And again, Ke Jie wanted to see how AlphaGo is going to handle this. He was playing AlphaGo's moves. So AlphaGo plays an attachment here. And in this fighting here, we can see black is putting a lot of pressure on white. Black is playing all of the strongest moves. And I really admire this move. This is extending to the center like this is really, it's a beautiful move. Usually you would expect black to be playing something like this.
Right.
The feeling of this move is that it's much better. It's a beautiful move. And now white plays here. What white is trying to do here is if black covers here, white's going to play an attachment here. And obviously, getting into Atari here would be bad, so black would probably push through. This would give white a lot of room to move out onto the left side.
Nice.
So this would be good for white. So this kind of sabaki is what Master is hoping for. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but moving here immediately would probably not work. It's just black connects up to the corner. So white has to start with something like this to disrupt that connection, to be able to move into the left side. If white was able to do that, it would be great for white. So Ke Jie, again, he plays a very Ke Jie. I think I'm closer now. Yeah, I'm getting the idea. But, he's just smiling. I haven't got it right. There's no chance I got it right. But
tough producer here.
Chinese is a difficult language for me. Black plays here.
I will just say, though,
yeah.
I've been in Beijing with Michael, and you did just fine with Chinese. We would not have eaten if it wasn't for your Chinese, so there'll be some failures.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
We ate some really wonderful street food because of your Chinese.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah. So
I think I did the numbers.
I don't know what you did, but we had it was like the best food I had. I mean, we went to all these banquets, but the best food was when we would go out. And,
street market. Yeah, I remember that very well.
So
yes, it was good
tough.
food. Yeah.
It was.
So, and again, this is the key point here. This is the Tetsuji here.
Gorgeous.
White gets a kind of a squeeze, but it's not as good as it was the other time because now white cannot get into the left side. So white jumps out, and so up to this point, it's looking sort of good for black. Black's trying to finish off those white stones on the upper side.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the game, I was thinking at this point it's going to be an easy win for black. I thought that this was his big chance to beat Master. And you would think that the whole upper side is black's territory now.
And that's normally not a good move to make the empty triangle like that, right?
Well, white has to do something. This is basically threatening to cut white off. White has to, and just playing the takefu here would be better shape. Takefu is bamboo joint is this shape.
Yeah.
But actually, it turns out that having the one stone towards the center is better for white. It gives white better potential to move into the center.
Okay. All right.
And so black plays here and white moves out here. So up to this point, white's being pushed around a bit, but white has a living group there. Now, if the upper side was black's territory, this would be an easy win for black.
Sure.
But it turns out there's a little aji there. Some aftertaste.
Yeah.
So I'll go into that now. I don't think I haven't put any variations yet. But let's say, well, first of all, the game move was this. This was what I was talking about in the beginning. Black thought that this was a good point of the game to fix the shape in the upper right corner. But actually, the upper right corner is just not big enough.
Interesting.
And so this was his mistake. And after this, you're going to be shocked at the way white takes the game away. Because it just suddenly happens.
I can see that there's Aji, but honestly,
locally, black has to protect the left side.
Of course.
How black should do that? Now, that's a big question. I think maybe the safest move, the most generally good move would be this.
Okay.
This would protect the left side. And it would be putting pressure on white's center group from a distance. So this would be the orthodox way to do it. Otherwise, moves like this look sort of groovy. I would sort of want to play this way, putting more pressure on white, but it doesn't really develop towards the lower side of the board.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of potential for white to be sort of pushing down on black from this side later. And so there is some weakness to this move, or the other move locally that I would consider would be this one. This would be sort of like, the idea would be to, if white pushes out like this, then black can do something like this to surround it. This would be sort of efficient. But of course, white would not play that exchange. White would probably find something else to do at this point.
And just leave it for later.
Yeah. So the question is this better? Well, I think really this is probably the more stable locally.
Straightforward.
And it also puts a bit of pressure on the lower left corner, white group. Because the corner is still open. Like the 3-3-point invasion in the lower left is right there. So white's okay for the time being because that's Miai or exchangeable point with the lower side. But that means black has one extra tempo there on the lower side.
Okay.
A forcing move, you might say. So this would be, it's looking really good for black, but I did mention that there's something on the upper side, so I'll go into that now.
Upper corner, right? The
upper corner. Now, if white plays here, this is the first move you might think of. Black plays here. Now, this is an eye against no eye.
Right.
And because of the corner, white, like even if white plays here and black plays here, there's no way white's going to get into the corner. So the eye, no eye position is just irreversible. It's no good for white. So that's a move that looks like it looks good, but it actually is not the correct move.
Yeah, I was looking
it's
at
better for white to extend
crawl.
here.
Yeah, the crawl.
Now, again, white's sort of forced into the small corner. Like if white plays the corner immediately, then this is definitely going to be an eye against no eye. But white can probably play once here, forcing. And there's all sorts of things white can try against the side, but just to look at the corner position, white can kill. It's important for white to make this into 2 stones here. This move here. To avoid, like if white just plays the hane, then this is going to be a eye against, and the corner is too far away. Like in this case, white has to play several moves just to get into the corner. And there's no way white's going to reverse the eye
I'm sure
against
they have
no
it
eye.
all read out at home.
Well, this would be easy for any pro.
Right.
What I've done so far is easy for any pro. Okay, we have a good position. So white plays here. Now, this is a kind of a strange code that could happen. Black could continue this way. It doesn't really matter. White's going to play here, and it doesn't matter which way white does it. Well, something like this. And it's not completely dead. The white group is not completely dead. At this point, it's still like it's a yosei ko. One-step ko is what they call it in English. It would be a one-move yosei ko. The yosei ko is the same meaning as step ko. So there's a bit of a ko. There's a strange ko. White's not really going to get much out of it yet. And although a professional would sometimes try to use this to change the flow of the game, the fact that it takes one more move for this to actually become a real ko, I have the feeling that Master attaches a low value to this kind of aji. And you will see in this game, although it can be explained by the fact that Master is going to win anyway. I think that Master is just feeling that this is not a good idea.
Okay. And
Master generally tends to avoid these step codes that are advantageous to the opponent. Whereas a human might try to, even though it's a step code, that means that if white adds one more move, it's going to be a direct call.
Right.
So black has to worry about this. It's something that black has to worry about, and it is actually the factor that makes this an even fight at this point. The fact that white has that step call in the corner. If that was completely black's territory, this would be different. I would say it would. I'd be feeling safe saying that black has a lead.
Okay.
But the fact that there's that little ko in the corner, which is not direct, and I sort of doubt that Master is going to play it. But just the fact that it's there makes black uneasy.
And kind of maybe perhaps
the use of this kind of ko is a potential weak point in Master. And the fact that I'm saying that, these Google people are so quick to correct these mistakes. I wouldn't be surprised if
it's fixed already.
It's fixed already, yeah.
Interesting.
But it was a big problem, I think, before. Like the first games we've seen of AlphaGo were when they were playing Fan Hui, the European champion, also a professional Go player. Well, at least strictly speaking, he was a professional Go player until he went to Europe. So you could argue that he was retired, but
he's European champion.
He was professional strength player.
Yeah.
So even at that time, I think Master Go had a real problem with ko's. Even 5-6 months after that, when it played Lee Sedol, it was avoiding ko's. But of course, it won the game, so it didn't really have to play the ko's.
Right.
And so it depends how you interpret that.
Right.
But I had the feeling they didn't like to play ko's.
And I should just mention, well, giving you a chance to refill there, Fan Hui is one of the stars of the AlphaGo film. He really, and I've known him for years, and he's just, he's a lovely. I mean, he's a strong player. Obviously, he's European champion, professional from China. But he has a huge amount of heart and insight, and the filmmakers do a beautiful job of bringing that out. I mean, the man has poetry in his soul, and he talks actually about how he had kind of tried to get away from Go, actually, when he left China, and that the game just, as you well know, it does, and I think all our viewers know, it has this way of just sort of capturing you. He really is a big part of the film, and again, I just, having seen him last year, and he was there, of course.
He'll be there probably in May also, yes.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to bring that up because he's important person in this whole story here. So all right, I want to see what happens here. So what happens next?
Okay, well, it gets sad fairly soon. But Black plays this move in the upper. This would usually be
Film
forcing.
Pretty good, right? I mean,
it's forcing, but it was badly timed because this invasion, it really changed the flow of the game. It put Black into a lot of trouble. Like this is a very severe invasion. It's very strong. So Black really needed to add a stone here. White invades. Naturally, Black has to move out into the center. This gives White a huge advantage on the left side of the board. And one would hope that Black would be able to counterattack in the center of the board. But the strength of... the weakness of Black's group on the left is such that Black doesn't really have a great chance to attack White in the center. And of course, there's that Ko in the upper left corner, which is
just sort of hanging out there.
Hanging there, and it for at least I don't really understand how much value Master attaches to it. I have my doubts, but I know that Ke Jie will be bothered by that, and that he would reason that the fact that Ko is there will reduce his opportunities to attack White in the center. Like that will be something that White can use later to mess up any attack that Black tries to use. So I don't think even Ke Jie, he knows a lot about the AI, but he probably doesn't feel happy just counting on the fact that it's not going to do that. At some point, Master will use that Ko, I think, but I just don't know how much value Master attaches to it. I have my doubts about that. But as it turns out, since Black is fighting from the left side here with this move, Black is moving out on the left side. If Black had the idea that he could attack in the center, he would be playing moves like this.
Sure.
And White would probably answer it once at least. But Black would be building on the center attack. The fact that he's playing from the left side means that Black is going to be on the defensive here. And we'll see that happening. And so it's sort of sad at this point that Black is just losing control of the game. And it happened with just one mistake. And that's true every time. Every time these human players, they're playing pretty good. They're top players in the world.
Yeah.
And they don't make more than one mistake usually.
They're not blunders.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. They're very subtle mistakes. And after that, the game is like... what's happening here is Black is sort of closing White in. It would be really bad for Black to be split in two. So that is what this move is doing when White plays the attachment here against Black. White is stopping Black from connecting underneath. And so Black has to try to fight strongly to surround White from the center. So that's what Black is doing. White gets a cutting point here, and this is the shape move. With this, White is starting to have I shape. And Black's shape on all sides is a bit weak. So Black protects the one cut. That's a necessary move. And for now, Black is just making a life in the corner. And this move here is sharp. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, should I? If Black cuts here, White's going to be able to connect underneath like this. And this would be pretty uninteresting for Black. So Black goes down. If White answers here, Black's going to be able to cut here. This would be bad for White. White might win the semi, but the center here is going to be... White's going to lose those stones.
Right.
So that's a good variation to leave in. Sometimes I do good ones, Yeah. And so White answers the cut. and black captures the corner. So locally, this is really great for black. Black's capturing, but it's not dead yet. Like white can still live in the corner, but instead white can capture these stones on the up left side. So
how is that?
When I say white can live in the corner, what I mean is that if white plays here and here and here, white's going to have a living shape, and black has a dead shape. The problem with this is that white's side group is not alive yet, so that's why white doesn't do this yet, and so white instead is going after black stones on the left side. We can see that black cannot connect here. This would not connect.
Nope.
Jumping here, white can still push through here.
Oh, this is painful.
So black cannot just connect here, and so by going after these stones with this move, white is actually protecting the white group on the left side. So black, that's not what black did. Black did this. Black killed the corner. This kills the corner white group. Now the white stones in the corner are dead, so black's got something about 20 points there. But white gets the whole left side. And getting the left side means that now the whole center is sort of white's sphere of influence. And so everything on the right side and the lower side, none of that's white's territory, but it's all sort of white has control. So when black goes in, black's going to be on the defensive now. And those black stones floating around the center, they're weak too. So it's already bad for black. And there's only one move that I like. There's one culprit that I can find. That's this move. This let's see. This move.
That move.
That one move. I was actually thinking that the game is good for black at this point.
And you just want black to play.
I want black to play this one.
E6.
Yeah.
Wow.
My first impression was really good for black, and then I looked at the upper left corner, and there's that one step ko.
Right.
So it's probably pretty even, but if black plays here, I think this really and as I was saying, I'm sort of torn between various moves like this one or this one, which are more exciting to play, but probably a bit less stable. So I'm gonna say this is probably the best move. It puts less direct pressure on white in the center, but it does put some indirect pressure on white in the center while developing better for the left side and the lower side later.
It's nice and simple too.
It's a simple move.
Yeah.
And if the upper left corner was black territory, I have a sneaking suspicion that Master is just not going to do that.
Right.
Ko.
Right.
It doesn't really like to do those codes.
Yeah.
It will play a code that is locally advantageous for itself.
Right.
But I think it still is a bit cautious about codes. That might be its one weakness.
Well, let me just ask you, as we wrapping up here and looking ahead to the match between Master or AlphaGo and Ke Jie, what are things that you'll be looking for in terms of? I mean, if you were, and remember too, actually, it's going to be Ke Jie is going to play Master in a 3-game match, but then there's also going to be a team match. There's going to be some pair go, so it's going to be a real. It's very different kind of a thing.
I'm really Ke Jie playing against Master is really going to be interesting because he is the number one human player.
Right. And has had a chance to study much more.
He knows something about how the AIs work.
Right.
And so it's going to be interesting that way. So he's going to, I think, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm wondering if he's going to try Manigo with white.
Wow.
Mimicking with white. Because that's something that probably the deep learning process in itself is not covering.
Interesting.
I think they need a special plan.
Right.
Like there was one player, the Taiwanese player, who tried Manigo with black. He played the Tengen. He played
Manigo,
the center
of course, is mirror go. Where you just
you just copy your opponent.
Right.
Playing it with black, playing the center point, and then copying, is just a bad strategy in Komi Go.
Right.
Because the komi is too big.
Right.
And so he was losing, and then the moment he stopped copying Master, his whole position fell apart. It was really bad. And it was a pity because he's actually a strong player.
Mm-hmm.
But with White, if the game is prolonged, if the copying process goes on for a long time, then White actually has an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So what Black will do, what human players have come up with, is that Black will use a ladder to refute the Manego.
Right.
And so if you have if your opponent is copying you, you end up with two ladders on diagonally opposite points in the corners of the board, and they're going to head towards each other. And the player who plays first is going to have an absolute advantage there.
Right.
And this was actually, I think it was first invented by a player called Yamabe. There was a player called Fujisawa Hosai. I guess he was alive only a couple of decades ago, I think. And he was one of the prominent players when Go Seigen was so strong. So when Go Seigen was playing all of those 10-game matches, Fujisawa Hosai was one of his arch rivals, and was actually at one point, I think he might have even been ahead of him in ranking, because that was a point where it was very difficult to get to 9-down.
Okay.
And of course, Go Seigen won. Go Seigen was a genius, of course, so he won all of the matches. But one of Fujisawa Hosai's fortes was Manego, because his explanation for it was that he felt that his opening with White was bad, and you shouldn't take that as it comes. You should take that with a
substantial portion of salt.
But he said that since his opening with White was lousy, he was just going to copy his opponent and stuff like that.
Well, I will say that I've used that rationale, and in my case, it was true. So,
but he was one of the top players of the time, and I think it was a game between him and Yamabe, who was also a very gifted player, in which Yamabe used a ladder, and so there are various ladders that players have used to refute Manego. And you have to have this kind of plan with a ladder to refute Manego, unless Master comes up with something else. So that's something that I'm wondering if Kwache is going to try that against him. Maybe or maybe not. I don't really know. But it's something, it would be interesting to see if the computer has a solution for that.
Right.
But the game itself would not be so interesting, maybe.
No, it would be really important.
But
for our sake, as commentators, I really hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
That would be terrible.
But it would be an interesting way to test the AI.
Yes, it would.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the people at Google have actually
the DeepMind team,
that.
I'm sure
they might have covered that.
I can't imagine they haven't.
It's kind of a potential weakness of AI that people will eventually have to investigate
and figure it out. All right. Well, we hope that you have enjoyed this game. In fact, these two with Michael in studio here, and really good to have you here in Washington D.C. And,
I'm having a lot of fun. Yes.
And opening up the National Go Center. Invitation to everybody out there. A lot of people come to Washington for the free museums, which are so we invite you to come enjoy the museums and check out the National Go Center. We're going to have all kinds of cool things there. Lots of Go, lots of special events. I may do a paella night. People know what that's about. But anyway, we really encourage you to do those, and we hope you've enjoyed this series. And we look forward to the games in China in just a few weeks. It's going to be exciting. So thanks for watching. Again, special thanks to our producer here, also in studio, Justin Teng. Thank you, Justin. And I should mention the Go Congress. If you haven't registered yet, it's going to be great. San Diego, it's going to be beautiful. Lots of Go. 8 days of Go. More Go than you know what to do with. And people have gotten stronger and had a lot of fun. Good chance to catch up with old friends, make some new friends. Are you coming this year? Hope so.
I don't
maybe.
know yet.
Not sure yet?
I don't know
Okay.
yet.
All right. Let's pull some strings and make sure that happens. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and thank you, Michael.
Thank you.